All right, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about how culture was changing during the 1920s. There were several things going on that indicated that our culture was shifting significantly. First is the trial of a biology teacher down in Tennessee. The guy's name was John Scopes. He goes ahead and teaches biology in Dayton, Tennessee. He actually wasn't from Tennessee. What happened was Tennessee passed a law saying that you weren't allowed to teach evolution. It was an anti-Darwin law. Passed that in 1925, and Scopes takes it upon himself. Well, actually, he's recruited by outside groups who think this is not right, to go ahead and go down to Tennessee, get a teaching job, and go ahead and teach biology. In other words, to go ahead and break the law. So they were looking to go ahead and give reason to go ahead and challenge this law in court, and that's what Scopes did. He goes down, gets a job, and he sure enough teaches evolution, and sure enough he gets fired, and he sues, and that's what the trial is basically about. But it turns into more than that. There's two very high-profile lawyers which go ahead and defend and prosecute Darrow or prosecute Scopes. The first is Clarence Darrow. He is going to defend Scopes. He doesn't like organized religion. He feels it's a farce, and so he's very anti-religious. And then there's William Jennings Bryan, who's exactly the polar opposite. He's a fundamentalist, very, very religious guy, three-time presidential candidate, and he argues against Scopes. So these are very high-profile lawyers. This is one of the trials of the century kind of thing. It's followed across the nation in newspapers, and people are very interested in what's going on. In the end, Scopes is found guilty and he's fired. But nonetheless, the effect of the trial is significant because it's really one of the first times where the religious orthodoxy of the United States is challenged publicly. And so the trial is really between your rural, more traditional America, your urban, more modern America. It's between religion and science. It's really a trial, again, about morality and about where we go ahead and draw our culture from. Do we draw it from science? Do we draw it from religion? And we're starting to see a shift in that through the Scopes trial. Other things that were going on in the 1920s. 1920s is interesting because it was the culmination of the Prohibition Movement. Prohibition Movement, the Women's Anti-Saloon League, stuff like that, temperance movement, was tied hand in hand with the movement to abolish slavery. The same folks, Lyman Beecher Stowe, stuff like that. And it culminates in January of 1920 with the passage of the 18th Amendment. 18th Amendment makes it illegal to make and to sell alcohol in the United States of America. And the effect is that, especially in the big urban areas, in the cities, you get the rise of gangsters. You guys like Al Capone, who is the most notorious of the gangsters to rise up, actually here in Chicagoland. And he goes ahead and they make huge profits off the illegal sale of alcohol. They sell the alcohol in places like were called speakeasies. It's basically a bar. You had to have a password to get in. You knock on the door. They open a little slit. And you whisper a password, and they let you in if you know it. And then the alcohol is transported by a group of people known as bootleggers because they were known for smuggling bits of alcohol in their boot. And so anybody who smuggled alcohol, no matter how much or how little, became known as a bootlegger. Um, and so certainly this was one of the effects. You got a huge rise in murder rates, especially, again, in the cities where you have gang wars, where the gangs are killing off each other. Huge increase in corruption, especially in places like Chicago, where Capone is paying off judges and cops and city officials. But you do also get a decline of drinking. At least it would appear to be that way, with evidences such as less alcoholism, less liver disease reported during Prohibition. You also get a decline in domestic violence reports. And so while there's a trade-off, certainly Prohibition was an interesting experiment. Prohibition, again, that was part of the idea to reduce crime, to reduce corruption, to improve the family. It was really a movement by women. And women viewed alcohol as a threat to the family. The husband would come home drunk, beat the wife and kids, and so they wanted to go ahead and blow the money that he made that day. And so they wanted to get rid of alcohol. Again, in the end, it proves to be unpopular. By 1933, Franklin Delano Roosevelt is president of the United States, and he pushes through a repeal of the 18th Amendment with the 21st Amendment. I like to think of it this way: the drinking age in many states used to be 18, and now it's 21. And those are the two amendments that have to do with Prohibition. Okay, why don't you go ahead and pause the video here, take a minute, and see if you can answer some of these questions about what we just talked about. Thanks.